Welcome to Lighten Your Load, the podcast for busy professionals, where we explore how a deeper understanding of how life really works can help remove the weight of excessive thinking, allowing you to live with less stress, more clarity, and greater resilience. Hello, I'm Peter Field, and welcome back to episode 6 of the podcast Lighten Your Load. And in this episode, I want to explore a bit further how understanding the nature of the human experience, how the human experience is created, changes everything. But first, it's important to say that as best as you're able, try to pay more attention to how you feel as you listen to these podcast episodes. In other words, what feels true for you in your own direct experience, rather than paying attention to any specific words or phrases I might use. My focus in each of these episodes is to point you towards what's true for all human beings, irrespective of age, gender, background, ethnicity, etc. In other words, point you towards the fundamental principles that are already operating in all of our lives. Because understanding these principles and working in harmony with them is key to living at your best more of the time. Now, as we discussed in episode 1, fundamental principles are, by their nature, impersonal, absolute, and consistent. And in a world of constant change, it can be very comforting and reassuring to know that there's something that we can rely on that never changes and is the same 100% of the time. So what's true for all human beings? What's true for all those who have lived before us, true for all those who are living in the world today, and will be true for all those who will be born in the future? Well, firstly, all human beings born into this world are eternally connected to and an expression of this infinite intelligence, this intelligence that beats our heart and breathes us. It also ensures that acorns always turn into oak trees. Secondly, all human beings have been gifted with the capacity to think. From the moment we're born until the day we die, we're constantly thinking. And this thinking enables us to create our own personal reality. And thirdly, all human beings have been gifted with the capacity to be aware. To be aware of what we're thinking, to be aware of our experiences and surroundings, and to be aware of our connection to something bigger, to something greater than ourselves. So you could say that these 3 fundamental principles that every human being is born into operates on a level playing field, in the sense that no human being has access to any more intelligence than anyone else. There's only one power. There's not a different power that beats my heart and a different power that beats your heart. Every human being also has the capacity to think and be aware. And as we'll explore through these podcast episodes, the difference that makes the difference is our understanding of these 3 fundamental principles and our ability to work in harmony with them. Now, you're probably familiar with the common saying, "I'll believe it when I see it." But the more you understand how life actually works, you realise that the complete opposite is true. You'll see it when you believe it. In other words, the starting point, the cause of all creation is thought. It's an inside-out process. In my book, Lighten Your Load, part 1 is titled, "Things Ain't What They Seem," because life does not work in the way it first appears, or even in the way our 5 senses indicate. In the introduction to the book, I share the following story called The Cookie Thief by Valerie Cox, which speaks to this point. The Cookie Thief by Valerie Cox. A woman was waiting at an airport one night, with several long hours before her flight. She hunted for a book in the airport shop, bought a bag of cookies and found a place to drop. She was engrossed in her book, but happened to see that the man beside her, as bold as could be, grabbed a cookie or 2 from the bag between, which she tried to ignore to avoid a scene. She munched cookies and watched the clock as the gusty cookie thief diminished her stock. She was getting more irritated as the minutes ticked by, thinking, if I wasn't so nice, I'd blacken his eye. With each cookie she took, he took one too. When only one was left, she wondered what he'd do. With a smile on his face and a nervous laugh, he took the last cookie and broke it in half. He offered her half as he ate the other. She snatched it from him and thought, oh brother, this guy has some nerve, and is also rude, why he didn't even show any gratitude. She had never known when she had been so galled, and sighed with relief when her flight was called. She gathered her belongings and headed to the gate, refusing to look back at the thieving ingrate. She boarded the plane and sank in her seat and sought her book, which was almost complete. As she reached in her bag, she gasped with surprise. There was her bag of cookies in front of her eyes. If mine are here, she moaned with despair, then the others were his, and he tried to share. Too late to apologise, she realised with grief that she was the rude one, the ingrate, the thief. I love that story as it's a great reminder that things ain't what they seem. Another good example of how things ain't what they seem is the almost universal belief that our feelings, both positive and negative, are caused by our circumstances, by the environment we're in, by what happens to us, which we discussed briefly in episode 2, Where Do Our Feelings Really Come From? And if you haven't listened to that episode, I encourage you to do so, as it forms a basic understanding for many of the episodes that we'll be exploring together. But in a way, it's good news that our feelings are not caused by what happens to us, because then we're a victim to external events over which we have little or no control. But when we look at our lives more closely and take a step back, how can events on the outside determine how we feel on the inside? I mean, think about it. Say you get a speeding ticket. How can a piece of paper literally make you feel anything? Do invisible stress particles emerge from the piece of paper and enter your body to make you feel stressed? And although it's probably fair to say that many people may feel upset after receiving a speeding ticket, it's not true to say that everybody would feel exactly the same way about receiving a speeding ticket. One person may take it as a timely reminder to allow more time for journeys instead of always having to rush everywhere. And even you may feel differently about receiving a speeding ticket at different times of the day. Because as we previously discussed, the real cause of our feelings is always and only our thinking in the moment. As a thought experiment, try to recall times in your own life where your feelings about a particular situation, event, or person has changed, even though the situation, event, or person remains the same. Human beings are not designed to experience the outside world directly. We're designed to experience our thinking in the moment. And this is what gives us hope, because the nature of thought is transient. You are never stuck with a painful or negative feeling. This is why Sydney Banks said that if the only thing people learned was not to be afraid of their experience, this alone would change the world. A great analogy frequently used to help understand this is movies. People pay to go and see a frightening and scary horror movie. They know they're going to feel really scared and frightened, but they don't mind because they know it's just a movie, and that when the movie ends, all the frightening and scary feelings will disappear. And what Sydney Banks is saying is that if we really know that our experience or feelings in life are caused 100% by our thinking in the moment, it doesn't really matter if we have painful, negative or scary thoughts, because the nature of thought is transient. It's always changing. The only reason a scary or negative thought looks more solid and fixed is because we ruminate on it and engage with it. If you don't engage with it and focus on it, it will pass through naturally. So the invitation in this episode is, as best as you're able, to hold on to your thoughts more lightly. Loosen the grip on the thoughts as they come into your head, and see if they pass through more easily and don't look as solid and fixed. In the next episode, we're going to explore the subtle but important distinction between pain and suffering. And so I do hope you'll join me for that. In the meantime, thanks for listening to this episode, and I'll talk with you again very soon. Thank you for listening to Lighten Your Load. If you have enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe to the show and feel free to connect with me on Instagram to learn more about how you can remove the weight of excessive thinking off your mind so you can live with less stress, more clarity and greater resilience. You can also download part 1 of my book, Lighten Your Load, for free using the link in the show notes. Thank you.